Namaskar, welcome back. Viewers, this is the special year-end episode of Media Scan in 2025, and I want to remind all of you about the famous quote of Bharat Ratna, former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, whose Jayanti we observed this week. Mr. Vajpayee had famously said that we may change our friends, but we cannot change our neighbors. Since neighbors are permanent, whatever happens in the neighborhood is also of primary concern to India as also any other country. Right now, our concerns are focused on our eastern neighbor, Bangladesh, where the arrival of Tarique Rahman, often seen as the heir of Begum Khalida Zia, former Prime Minister, and currently the leader of the BNP, his arrival in Dhaka has generated a lot of curiosity not only in Bangladesh but in the West, in Asia, everywhere. It is believed and experts have pointed out that Tariq's arrival should be able to bring some much needed stability in our eastern neighbors' politics. But will that really happen? And even if political stability is seen in the situation, will Tariq and his party be able to stem the rising tide of radicalization in the Bangladesh society is a question we all have to deal with. All this and much more in this special edition in the year-end week of 2025. Please stay with us through the episode, but first a quick report.
Bangladesh remains tense amid a series of violent incidents as Bangladesh National Party acting chairman Tariq Rahman returned to Dhaka after 17 years from his self-imposed exile. Son of former Prime Minister Khalida Zia, Rahman received a warm welcome on his arrival. With the Awami League barred from contesting elections, the BNP has emerged as the leading political force, and Rahman is widely viewed as a possible future leader. The interim government led by Muhammad Yunus is under growing pressure both domestically and internationally. Amid criticism over law and order, Khuda Bakhsh Chaudhary, Special Assistant to the Chief Advisor at the Ministry of Home Affairs, resigned from his post. Whether Tariq Rahman's arrival leads to a political stability or not, Bangladesh is currently in the grip of extremist jihadi elements. The killing of another Hindu after Deepu Das's shows that radicalization is the biggest threat to peace in the subcontinent.
So, all eyes on Tariq Rahman, and we are also going to talk a lot about it in this episode. But first, let me quickly take you to our guests for this evening. I have here with me in the Doordarshan studios, Shantanu Mukherjee, former IPS officer, well-known security expert, a Bangladesh watcher, has also served in Dhaka for a long time during his career. Namaskar, sir. Welcome. And Dr. Abhinav Pandya, expert on radicalization and related issues, author, well-known commentator on security scenario. His latest book, Jihad Game, particularly deals with this whole problem, the challenge of radicalization in the Indian subcontinent. Welcome back, Abhinav. And I would like to come to Mr. Mukherjee first. Sir, you have served in Dhaka, and I think nobody better than you will be able to explain to us why Tariq's arrival is important. Is it really going to bring the kind of positive change or at least some semblance of peace in the whole situation, as experts are pointing out? Or do you think these are false hopes?
Well, I think his arrival is very significant. The timing is very important. He has arrived 24 hours ago, and the election is on 12th of February. As we all know, Bangladesh is reeling through sense of insecurity, spate of violence, complete lawlessness, kind of anarchy. So on 12th of December, you had Hadi killed and a series of killings, the minorities being lynched and everything. I think his arrival will, as you said, will bring some semblance, number one. and he had experience of governing in the past. Number two, I expect that if he left this country, he was hardly 43 years old. This time he's 60. So he must have assumed that he's more matured. Politically, he will be addressing the problems. And this is seen by his statements on arrival, like he did not criticize anybody, including Sheikh Hasina, which was conspicuously absent. This is very important. Another thing is that he touched the soil and he spoke to the audience barefoot.
Yes.
That is, he's trying to connect with the soil, trying to connect to the grassroots. And he said that he has a plan. Means he has either been tutored, his rhetoric, you see, like Martin Luther King had said that I have a dream. So somebody must have told him, so he's coming with very good thing.
No,
and he said,
so the obvious question here, sir, is who do you think is tutoring him? Is it some experts in the West? Is it some people from Bangladesh? Which side of the fence are they sitting? These are very relevant questions.
Very relevant, definitely. You know, for 17 years he was in the UK.
Yes, in exile.
And it is naive to assume that he did not get in touch with any of the intellectuals or the intelligence agencies. So they are the ones who are behind him, some external forces must have been tutoring him, who want him installed, want him to win the elections. So they must be behind him in telling him how to go about it. That is why we see, if I may use the word, theatrics after his arrival. That's my point.
So the obvious question now is whether this will remain just some good words in order to please the people who have been, waiting for some stability in the scenario for more than 2 years now. Even during Prime Minister Hasina's tenure, there was a lot of, upheaval in the Bangladesh situation. But before we move further, we want to play that bite which Mr. Mukherjee was just hinting at, how Tarique Rahman spoke all the right things, focusing on the inclusive society of Bangladesh, referring to people of all religions, and most importantly, not directly criticizing anybody. Do listen in.
আজ আমাদের সময় এসেছে সকলে মিলে দেশ গড়ার। এই দেশে যেমন পাহাড়ের মানুষ আছে, এই দেশে একইভাবে সমতলের মানুষ আছে। এই দেশে মুসলমান, বৌদ্ধ, খ্রিস্টান, হিন্দু সহ বিভিন্ন ধর্মের মানুষ বসবাস করে। আমরা চাই সকলে মিলে এমন একটি বাংলাদেশ গড়ে তুলব আমরা, যেই বাংলাদেশের স্বপ্ন একজন মা দেখেন, অর্থাৎ একটি নিরাপদ বাংলাদেশ আমরা গড়ে তুলতে চাই।
So, Dr. Pandya, to paraphrase what Tarique Rahman just said, he wants a Bangladesh where men, women and children, when they go out of their homes, they should come back safely home in the night, is what he's trying to stress upon. But we cannot overlook the fact that during his mother's tenure, when he also played a very important role, and his mother was the Prime Minister, Bangladesh had started seeing the rise of radicalism at a very serious, a very worrying level. And particularly for India, all those forces, all those insurgents who have been trying to push violence in the Northeast were sheltered, not only sheltered, but helped and financed and promoted in every way by the BNP government. In the light of this background, how do you look at Tarique Rahman's promise, which he has made on his arrival in Dhaka, and which way do you think his party will fare when the elections happen in February, if at all?
Thank you very much, Smitaji, for inviting me. Well, let me begin at the outset that what Mr. Tarique Rahman said, all these things, sound like nice jokes to me, or rather big lies to me, I would like to begin with the fact that people like Tarique Rahman, Yunus, they are not even relevant. They are just proxies. You have to look at the bigger actors behind this, behind what's unfolding in Bangladesh. First of all, it's the West. West knows that, in this region, India cannot be a robust ally in its Indo-Pacific strategic calculations. Therefore, Bangladesh is a nice substitute. It's a good alternative in terms of its strategic locations and the pliable, I would say, governance setup that comes in Bangladesh. Secondly, you have Pakistan, you have Turkey, and you have players like Qatar, who are massively funding the Islamist organizations in that region. Pakistan has already avenged the defeat of 1971. Turkey again wants a very strong extremist and Islamist foothold in that region. So these are the players who are controlling these entities, and what Mr. Yunus is doing, this is completely a dictation of what's coming from the West. You can see Mr. Yunus's linkages with, the Clinton Foundation and all. What Mr. Tarique Rahman is saying, the Tariq Rahman is basically being tutored by the MI6 because, you have not many Bangladeshi Jamaatis and a lot of Bangladeshi expatriates living in UK. So currently it's the West, it's Pakistan, Turkey, they are the major actors. And I don't see, I would say, much substance into all what Mr. Tarique Rahman is saying. I look at the bigger picture now, and the bigger picture is that Bangladesh is very drastically, very rapidly sliding into the morass of radicalization and Islamic extremism. And if anyone thinks that what's happening in Bangladesh will only impact the Northeast, then I think the person or those intellectuals are living in delusion. Bangladesh is emerging as a strong ISI foothold, which will impact the Islamic extremism, polarization, I would say, the national security interest across the country. I would like to mention here that Kashmiri separatists, the Kashmiri Jamaat affiliated people are moving to Turkey. From there, they are going to Pakistan. On the Pakistani passport, they are going to Bangladesh. And in Bangladesh, they are coordinating activities with Lashkar, Jaish. So a lot is happening. So I guess India's foreign service bureaucracy and the security establishment bureaucracy should really move out of these, I would say, short-term analysis and tell the real truth to the political masters if they are willing to understand what's happening around us.
Okay, let me take that to Mr. Mukherjee from here. Sir, it is, there may be some merit in what Dr. Pandya is saying, because I remember when there were some very, very, very brutal communal riots in Maharashtra last year, the links were found to be from Bangladesh, people of the Jamaat who had been actually fueling those protests and that violence. They provoked it there sitting in Bangladesh through the online media. So certainly the concerns are not limited to the Northeast. With a strong ISI presence in Dhaka these days, which is no secret for any of us, it is true that they may affect the peace and security in our country, the communal harmony in our country in various states. It may not be limited to the Northeast. But more specifically, sir, the question here is, will Tariq's coming be able to, reduce or at least limit the kind of very aggressive role that the ISI is playing sitting in Dhaka and other cities of Bangladesh, and also other players which Dr. Pandya has pointed out?
Well, there is definitely some merit about it. There are two things. Number one, he's coming back to his country, that is Bangladesh, and maybe the election if he wins. It is a kind of fait accompli. If he's being described as a prime minister hopeful, so he'll be there. ISI will definitely get a boost if he's at the helm after the 12 February elections. Why? Because in the previous two spells of BNP being in power, when, like you said, he had a major role to play, we know about the security implications India faced, whether it is harboring of the Northeast insurgents there, whether it was Paresh Barua, or whether it is the Manipuri rebels, or the Nagas, the training, the infiltration, the arms, and also it would definitely get a boost. So that means we need to up our antenna further, increase the activities, intensify our counter-terror operations and see it. But that doesn't preclude him from coming to power. If he wins, if his people vote him to power, so we should have a strategy by which how to deal with it. And there's no denying, nothing surprising that he's got the support of the West and Yunus and everything. That is there, definitely there. It will be. As far as ISI activities are concerned, remember, in 2020 January, Bangladesh High Commission Pakistan High Commission was re-established in Dhaka.
Yes.
Simultaneously, it's more than a coincidence, Turkey also came in. Both are India haters. So there'll be a kind of joint thing. So for example, infiltration of counterfeit currency, then as I said, the harboring of the training camps, etc. This could be a possibility. We have got sufficient notice. We should factor those. Definitely what you quoted about the Maharashtra riots and everything, they'll continue to be there. But if we are alert, like we have been, we should be able to foil them. That will not be able to prevent him from coming back to power, if at all he is voted. He has already reached out to Jamaat, to the Islamic Andolan, because he knows that he has to do a balancing act, keeping all the forces on his side. And when you asked before you went off the air, or you went for something, that whether his statements are just lip service and all. Yes, it could be an electoral gimmick, because the election is round the corner. Like we see, once he comes back to power and he is safely ensconced in power, then he could be different. That we have to look out for. That calls for a more robust diplomacy, more intensified and measured anti-terror measures to neutralize his plans in collaboration, possibly with Pakistan and other affiliates.
Yes. And I want to come back to Abhinav here. Abhinav, there is a point. I mean, Tariq Rahman is not what he was. He is not that young man anymore. He has touched 60. Their country has gone through a lot. Even after his arrival, we got reports of the killing of another Hindu youth, whom the Yunus administration is now saying that he was he was a dreaded criminal, and I mean, goes trying to say that his killing is not really something to worry about. But nevertheless, the situation in Bangladesh is there for all to see. And even people in the West are waking up to the fact that Yunus has almost lost total control of administration. So we should be able to give the benefit of doubt to Tariq Rahman perhaps. And maybe he realizes that with Awami League out of the picture, he needs the vote of all communities. And now, if he gives up, a pacifying kind of a message, then the minorities in Bangladesh may try to move towards the BNP. Since Awami League doesn't seem to be having any stakes, I don't think their ban will be lifted till that time. How do you see it?
Well, I think that, even if Tariq Rahman wins, then it will be a very short-term and a very, I would say, temporary respite. Because here we need to, first of all, we must understand that everyone is saying that BNP is the only solution. Even the dominant narrative in the Indian, I would say, national security establishment is that BNP is your best plan B or best alternative, and we must, have inroads in the BNP. Well, that's fine, but we should never forget that while BNP was in power, Jamaat had a very strong influence in the government, and all these deadly terrorists like Masood Azhar, Sajjad Afghani, they infiltrated into India when BNP was in power. And now when BNP comes back to power, we have to understand that Pakistan, which has earned this influence and this inroads in Bangladesh with such great difficulty after, I would say, more than a decade-long rule of Hasina Sheikh, is not going to leave Bangladesh or offer Bangladesh on the platter to India. So even if Tariq Rahman comes, Pakistan and Jamaat will exercise a strong influence. And this time, Jamaat is a very aggressive Jamaat. Jamaat has seen how their war criminals were sentenced to death by the Hasina administration. So now they will not leave any stone unturned in exercising the complete control over Bangladesh.
Right.
And the last
one question here. I agree with you that the Jamaat is not what it used to be. It has now emerged as one of a very big force in the past 1 year or less than 1 year. However, knowing the past, the relationship, the working equations between the BNP and the Jamaat, do you think if Tariq Rahman is not able to, win with a clear mandate in the coming elections, he may try to extend a hand to the Jamaat and we'll see a redo of what was happening in the past?
Yes, that's a very likely scenario. If he doesn't get the sufficient number of seats, definitely he needs Jamaat anyway. And even if he gets, I would say, a majority, even in that case, we must be prepared for the day that Pakistan and Jamaat will exercise a strong influence in that country. And last point that I want to make is that, look at the sentiments in the society. It's the common people who are killing Hindus just for saying something about Prophet. Leave aside Jamaat, leave aside BNP, leave aside Yunus. It's the level of radicalization that you witness among the common ordinary citizens of the society that actually spells out the long-term trajectory and the trend of this country, which unfortunately happens to be India's neighbor. And, we must think seriously about it. And, I guess India needs to think out of the box and really contemplate upon some military option, if it can do. And if India doesn't have the wherewithal to do that military option, then, I don't see a very bright future for it.
The unremitting hostility against minorities in Bangladesh, including Hindus, Christians, and Buddhists, at the hands of extremists, is a matter of grave concern. We condemn the recent gruesome killing of a Hindu youth in Mymensingh and expect that the perpetrators of the crime would be brought to justice. Over 2,900 incidents of violence against minorities, including cases of killings, arsons, land grab, have been documented by independent sources during the tenure of the interim government.
Let us say Tariq will win, because most of the surveys are indicating that. I don't know what is the sample survey, what is the sample, the findings of these surveys, but most of them are saying that he's likely the next Prime Minister. You have also mentioned it. But the question is, even if Tariq manages to, form government, then all these players like the Hizb ut-Tahrir and the Ansarul Bangla, they are not going to vanish. They will have their influence in the Bangla society. They will be creating trouble. So as we say, we need to remain totally vigilant. How do you look at India's prospects in the scenario? And like you said, we need to have our strategy ready. What kind of a strategy are you looking at, sir?
Well, the strategy would be to more stepped up counterintelligence measures, more collection of actionable intelligence, because the threat would be absolutely twin, because his collaboration with Jamaat, as you say, and then with all these Hizb ut-Tahrir and other radical parties, which has the backing of Yunus administration as well.
True.
So it will be a threat, and we have to be prepared for it, not shying away. And I'm sure the agencies would rise to the occasion and do its best to foil everything. Means we have to accept the challenge and will it. You see, it's a highly radicalized society. And on July 1, 2016, the Artisan Bakery, I like to remind you, and that is there, all the perpetrators of that crime in the Terror Act, where Indians also lost their lives, were drawn from the best of schools, best of colleges. And so they were indoctrinated at that time.
And later they were let off.
Absolutely. And many were killed also, many were let off also, acquitted. And in the IS, the Baghdadis thing, 2010 onwards, there were many who went there to join IS on the Syria borders.
Yes.
So that is clear evidence about the level of indoctrination. We were talking about radicalization. And then I will not be surprised if when he went to the borders and actively fought their ideological impact there. So Tariq, I don't think will be able to contain them. He has to depend a lot on these forces. And now itself, the chemistry, a kind of very uneasy chemistry seems to be emerging. He has to be there. So therefore,
so
we have
are we
to be
looking at a longer spell of political instability?
Absolutely, very political instability if he continues to get the Jamaat. It's a question of numericals. Maybe after 12th February, a larger picture will surface. Then we will be able to know. If he's an absolute majority, then it's a different thing. If Jamaat is a partner, like it was in the previous two regimes, there were two ministers, Jamaat, they were there. And imagine, one more thing I would like to remind the viewers as well as you, is that there may be certain kind of political vendetta on part of Tariq and part of Jamaat also. The Jamaatis who had collaborated during the 71 war, Sheikh Hasina had hanged them after due trial. So the memories may be fresh. They may like to avenge that once they settle down. So India also has to be very alert about it and place an absolutely zero tolerance policy to deal with them. That's what I feel.
Right. Just the last word to Abhinav Pandya, because I really have no time left on the show. Abhinav, quickly, how do you look at the prospects of the Awami League cadre, their leaders there in Bangladesh? What kind of a road ahead do you see for them? Certainly, they'll not be a player in these elections, but they have stepped up their political activity. How do you think the BNP will deal with them? Will it be a kind of vendetta politics, as Sir has just pointed out? Or do you think they may have mellowed down now and they may realize that in the light of these players, the Jamaat and forces like Hizb ut-Tahrir, etc., maybe it's better to have a working relationship with a bona fide political party like the Awami League?
Well, I don't see a very bright future for Awami League because, first of all, it stands banned. Although it still has a very strong organizational strength and cadre at the grassroots, and according to inputs from some of my interlocutors, Awami League is going to, maybe let's say, stage a protest or create some disruption in the coming month of January. But the chances of success looks very less likely. And I guess over time, when if BNP comes to power and Jamaat gets more stronger, they will be very revengeful, and they will. I can foresee. I would say the manhunt. I would say the personal vendetta being carried out. A lot of legal cases. And I would say even political killings also. So the Awami League doesn't have a very bright future.
Fine. We'll have to end it at that. This conversation needs to be carried on in another episode perhaps, and we will certainly keep an eye on what is happening in Dhaka, as we have been doing for the past few weeks. But for the moment, thank you very much, Shantanu Mukherjee sir, for finding the time on this holiday weekend. As also Abhinav Pandya, always so gracious to join us on every sensitive issue. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Will Tariq's arrival really ensure the much needed political stability in Bangladesh is something nobody is in a position to say with any certainty. However, his coming has definitely created a political environment, and with political activities stepping up, it is hoped that there will be less violence in Dhaka and other parts of Bangladesh, and more preparation for the upcoming elections, which are scheduled in February. Once again, we wish the best for our Bangladesh neighbors. And on this note, viewers, it's a wrap-up in this penultimate episode of Media Scan in 2025. See you next year. Happy New Year.